chiropractors who do well in practice. So whatever your definition of success is, but if that definition includes your ability to transform lives, make an impact on those people that see you, your ability to change the thinking in your community, your ability to see more people, have more people come to your office, your ability to inspire a team and have a team work together cohesively to share a mission, and your ability to earn a really substantial living for you and your family. And I'm going to say in a selfless way, the more that you can collect monetarily, the more impact you have on other people's lives. In my case, it's the more that I can have an effect on the chiropractic profession. I mean, and I ask this question often to clients, is that what amount of money is enough? And some clients say, well, if I made 250,000 a year or 300,000 a year or 500,000 a year, and I say, if that's what your thinking is, that's very selfish. And I get, what do you mean by that? Because that's an amount that serves you, that keeps you comfortable, that allows you to do the things you want to do and serves your family. In my case, I want hundreds of millions, if not billions, because that's going to allow me more leverage to advance the profession and serve my mission in a big way, to serve humanity in a big way. So that's the thinking that I want you guys to have. So the common thread of people, when I talk about people at that seminar that have been very successful in chiropractic, and again, whatever your standards are of success, is that they're very, very grounded in philosophy, and they've taken that philosophy and applied it to the way they deliver chiropractic. So that's what we call congruency. If your core values and your thinking are resembling how you deliver chiropractic, if there's congruency there, you're going to be successful. It's when there's an incongruency. In other words, when you're doing things that don't resonate or are incongruent with your core values, that's when your life breaks down. Not just your practice, but your life breaks down. So, and you can look at this in many different ways. You can look at your relationships, in your health goals. You can look at it with the way that you raise your children. If your core values are different than the way you're applying those core values, that's where destruction happens. So we wanted to kind of talk about that today and actually give you some ideas and share some ideas on how we deliver chiropractic that's based on our core values. And I want to start with this. If this is okay, Brian, I'm going to just jump right into this. And I want us to share here is that in the last year, I challenged you guys at the seminar on creating your mission statement. And some of you really have a hard time with that. Like it's really, really tough for you to do that. And I said, once you create that mission statement, put it on your wall. So I'm going to ask you guys, how many actually have done that? How many have that done? Okay, so Justine's got her hand up. Steven's got his hand up. I would love you guys to share, what is that mission statement? I'd love, if you have a picture of it, I'd love to see it, or share with us how you share that in your office.
For us, it's right above the front desk, so everybody can see it. That our mission is to serve families. So I wanted to make sure of all ages, so they knew it wasn't just adults, to reach their optimal and meaning the highest level, and then innate potential. So it doesn't have anything to do with pain or. And when you asked, how did I come to it? It was writing down words that meant something to me, and then trying to fit them into a sentence. And then the three of us worked on it for quite a while to try and figure out how it resonated with us.
Awesome. And is that, you said that's up, actually displayed up in the office?
It's displayed right behind the front desk. And then at the beginning of all my talks that are in person, it's one of the slides.
Cool. That's fantastic. And I commend you for that. And I'm going to say, so for the rest of you, and for those of you who have struggled with that or have not done that, that is a foundational principle of building your business, because it's a core foundational belief system that everything else is developed upon. So for those of you who haven't done that, please take note of that. Here you've got Justine, who sees the better part of 1,000 people a week in her office and has done this for years and years and years, has created great wealth. but has impacted so many people, but it's all based on a core foundational belief that is communicated in everything that she does. So, Stephen, how about you?
My mission statement is save lives by inspiring generations to build true health using the five essentials.
Sorry, say it again. Save lives by
By inspiring generations to build true health utilizing the five essentials.
cool. And and so obviously that's going to create some questions and like people are going to say, what are the five essentials, all that stuff. So it opens the door for conversation, which is awesome. And is that something that is transcendent between the two offices that you have? It
Yeah, it
is.
is. Yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That's cool. And because I know when the former owner had Elevate, there was a big saying up on the wall. There was letters up on the wall. Is that still there, or have you
Yeah, it
added?
is. Yeah, that's it.
And have you added to that as well with that mission statement?
No, I haven't.
That would be something I would suggest. That would be worthwhile. One
If
thing,
I could jump in for a sec, like the people who struggle with this part, or it's easy depending on your personality, like this can get super heady and you can go in the wrong direction. What I'd like to suggest is think about the reason you became a chiropractor. Like not the elevator pitch reason, but the real reason you became a chiropractor, the reason you felt that you had something that your community needs to know about, right? So what's that truth or that secret you feel you discovered that led you to chiropractic, that made you want to become a chiropractor, made you want to help people in that way? And then the question is now, this is where Colin's getting into, is does your practice express that? Like, is there that congruence as to the real reason you got into chiropractic? Is that now being expressed for your community to get a chance to experience that?
and Brian brought this up. So as far as the elevator pitch, now this is another thing I suggested for you guys to develop is your elevator pitch. And again, many of you are still struggling with this. And I'm going to tell you, so some of the people that are really struggling with this are not on this call. However, this is such an important thing for you to be so grounded in what chiropractic is, to be able to explain it to a layperson that represents your core values and what you really do as a chiropractor. And so I would love to share this with you. And I'm going to tell you, this is right out of the Green Book. So this is out of the bigness of the fellow within. And so this is kind of interesting because I have every copy of the Green Books on digital copy. I have PDFs of all of them, every single one. And so what I've been doing is I've been going through and reading them. But what I've also been doing is taking the PDF and uploading it to ChatGPT and say, summarize this or bring down 10 quotes out of the Green Books. And so it's fascinating what I'm reading and what I'm coming up with and how AI is interpreting the Green Books. It's really fascinating, but it gives me very clear ways to explain the Green Books, which is fantastic. So here's a quote right out of the bigness of the fellow within. And this talks about the way to share chiropractic with people. And so this is, and I'm going to try to find it here. It's so the bigness of the fellow within is volume 22 of the Green Books. It was written in 1949, and this is on page 64. And it says chiropractic is based on four truths. And so if you don't have an elevator pitch, this is a very simple elevator pitch. This is written by BJ Palmer. It couldn't be more clear, easy to understand, and accurate. So chiropractic is based on four simple truths. Is that number one, the body is self-healing. Simple. You cut your finger, a living organism, a living body knows how to heal that finger. Dead body will not heal that finger. So life heals. So that's number one. The body is self-healing, self-adapting, and self-regulating. Number two, the nervous system is the master controller of the body. It's the communication system. Brain, spinal cord, peripheral nerves send all the messages to every cell, tissue, and organ and receive messages back to the brain from every cell, tissue, and organ. So nervous system is the master controller. Number three, interference in that nervous system will cause the body to have a limitation of adaptation. So there's an interference with the full expression of life. Okay, very simple. So three facts so far: body self-healing, nervous system is the master controller, any interference to that nervous system um, will cause a limitation of adaptation and the full expression of life. And number four, chiropractors locate and correct the interference. Very simple. Four simple facts. It's a very easy way to explain chiropractic to somebody who has no idea what chiropractic is all about. And it makes perfect sense.
I share those 4 points in my doctor's report every time.
Anybody else have a way of explaining chiropractic? You have something that's really unique to you or unique and you've had some great feedback from that. Anybody else have something to share?
Hey, Colin, we've been actually working on our elevator pitch, and that's actually what Delaney and I practiced yesterday morning. And our elevator pitch is: you were designed with an innate ability to heal, from repairing a cut to fighting infection and adapting to stress. That healing intelligence works through your nervous system, which is protected by your spine. When the spine is misaligned, it can interfere with how your brain communicates with your body. Chiropractic adjustments help remove that interference so your body can heal better, function better, and so you can live you can truly live the life you were designed to live.
Nice.
So that's where we started. We're working on that, and now we're working on the second part of your elevator pitch, which is um, why people would pick our clinic, which is at Village Wellness Clinic. We specialize in corrective care. We take the time to find the root cause and create personalized plans to focus on long-term transformation, not just temporary transformation. Not just temporary transformation, not just temporary relief. We truly care about the people we serve. We walk with our patients every step of the way because healing isn't just clinical, it's personal.
That's great.
And I chat GPT'd it after I made it myself. So just like you are using chat, I'm kind of going back in and taking what I think and I actually put in, can you make suggestions as if I was a max living chiropractor? And it will just adjust it.
So this is good, Christine. And I'm going to
Yeah.
say, so this is something that you bring to every staff meeting and you guys work on it at your staff meeting and role play it and train on it until nobody gets it wrong.
And
Like
I'm
it's,
going to tell you, I've asked everybody to do an elevator pitch, and I just had one in writing from one of my staff that had nothing to do with this. So I was surprised. She's been with us for a while, and I was surprised to see the response I got. So now we're actually going to be going through and actually having everybody memorize this and recite it to us and videotape it.
when you say surprise, good surprise or
No,
oh
bad
my God,
surprise.
okay, right. So this,
I got stuff about pain and muscles, and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I showed you the very first day you came. I showed you the brain body diagram, right? And so even in my mind, I was like, okay, how did we get to this point? How do we get to the point where this is what just came back to me? So now we'll go through this again, and I have a lot of co-op students in too. So I'm even making the co-op students do the elevator pitch because I want them to present it to Delaney so Delaney can correct them. So I want her to have some responsibility for like correcting, what our elevator pitch is because they can't educate patients if they themselves don't even know. And that's what I'm seeing now. So it was a great exercise.
so very revealing. So good for
Yeah,
you. That's
totally.
fantastic.
And one thing there, like this is like, it's not maybe the feedback you wanted, but it's great feedback.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like once you have your mission, your vision, your elevator pitch, the question you got to be now asking is, does your practice reflect that like completely? Does it do it consistently? Does it do it congruently? So it needs to be showing up. Is it being mentioned in every team training? So yeah, we might have mentioned it to patients at the DR, might have done it with, our team and onboarding, but is it in everything we do? Because like another thing BJ talked about in the bigness is the greatest power in the universe, it's inside each of your patients. It's not in the doctor's hands. It's not in the conversation at the front desk. It's not in your adjusting tables. It's inside the people.
Yeah.
So how do you release that? How's everyone working on that? And how's that being communicated? If not, this is where things we start to get weary, and it's very easy. Like we were just redoing all of our re-exam paperwork because we're like the challenge is the principle, if it's not continually top of mind, people get weary because they get, if they're in corrective care, maybe they're 3 times a week, but after that they're like once a week in your office, but all the rest of the time outside they're being told the exact opposite through marketing and drug companies, etc.
Yeah. it is super challenging. And that was the challenge I gave with Dylan this week after we trained on Wednesday. I said, every single patient that comes in, I want you to somehow work in your elevator pitch in every patient. Like every exam, every person you see today, I want you to somehow work it in to remind them. Just so that,
I also say that needs to be in every team training,
yeah,
somewhere in the huddle. Like it's got to show up in every piece
yeah,
because you like as an office, you are only as strong, you're only as powerful as the weakest link in the office.
yeah, that's a great point.
So here's another perspective I'd love to share with you guys. So if we can all agree that as principled chiropractors, as innate driven chiropractors, as corrective care chiropractors, our focus is not on treating pain. Our focus is not on treating symptoms. That's not what we do. That's what medical doctors do. And so based on that, if our elevator pitch reflects that, let's really analyze our verbiage and our exam processes, our day one, day two, to make sure everything is congruent. And so there's certain words that we really have to make sure come out of our vocabulary. And I'm really, really hard on people who use this word, is the word treatment. And I hear it all the time in chiropractic, treatment rooms, 36 treatments. So you have to ask yourself, because essentially, what is the definition of a treatment? It's the application towards a certain symptom, it's the application towards a problem. And every time we use that word, we intentionally, even subconsciously, demean what we're doing into some form of therapy. So I really want you guys to really start to identify where you're using language that is subconsciously telling that person that they are there for the removal of their symptoms. Again, that's very important. It's a foundational principle to put into your practice procedures, into your systems, to make sure, if you want to widespread this message of what you do, and make sure everybody really, really gets it and understands it. What are some other words that you guys are using that you know you need to get out of your vocabulary?
I think that's easy. Pain. So I've trained my team on aggravated, changed, what's changed, what's aggravated versus the word pain in the exam, what's motivating you for to be here. But I was just going to say back to the mission statement. What we do quarterly is we all stand around looking at it so everybody recognizes where it is. And I ask them to say what their favorite word in the mission statement and how does it apply to their day to day work, like their day to day life, inside, outside the office, so that I want to try and make the mission statement personal to them.
Nice. Nice. And so this is good. And that brings up another question, is that how many of you actually share philosophy with your team? Like bring in scripts from the green books or philosophical documents or whatever that case is, and actually share them with your team. And I'm going to say, if you're not doing that, that would be something like I used to start every staff meeting with something. It was something out of the green books or biblical or something about medicine or, some tragedy in medicine or side effect of a medication, whatever it was. That's how we started every single meeting and huddles. Okay, here's another thought. So what's the major premise? And we talked about this on the weekend at Pure and Powerful. What is the major premise? Who can quote the major premise without looking it up right now? Brian, Brian, you know it.
I don't know the exact words, but inside every living organism is a power that keeps it an organization, and brings to it all of its properties.
Okay, so the major premise, which is the first principle of chiropractic, and I want to make sure everybody understands this, is that there is a universal intelligence in all matter, organic and inorganic matter. Okay, think about that. There's a universal intelligence in all matter that continually gives to it its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. So when you think about that, that's the bigness. When BJ talks about the bigness of the fellow within, universal intelligence in all matter, but there is a subsection of that universal intelligence. Okay, when you go through the rest of the 33 principles, so the other 32 principles talk about the fact that there's a subsection of that universal intelligence that exists within every single person that we call innate intelligence. In BJ's book, it's actually entitled Chiropractic Philosophy. So this is volume 5 of the Green Books. He actually makes a quote and he said, universal intelligence is as the sun. So if universal intelligence is as the sun, innate intelligence is like a sunbeam. So in other words, you have a subportion of that sun that shines within you. And I want you to really get into this. And this is a good thing to, again, to share with your team, because if you really understand, if you call yourself a principled chiropractor, you have to go back to the major premise and say there has to be a level of faith that there is a universal intelligence that organizes life. So life is something that is greater than this physical body. This physical body is just matter. There is something that transcends matter, and a subsection of that universal intelligence. So I like to call it God. So if there's a subsection of God inside the body, the personification of God, right? That's the way it was explained to me. The personification of God inside the body, this innate intelligence, it's like the sunbeam from the sun. So a subsection of God's light, life, function, health, and creativity is inside every single person. So what we do as chiropractors is we don't treat anything on the physical plane. There's no treatment. All we do is we apply a force and we remove the interference neurologically so that the personification of God, this innate intelligence, can flow. Life can flow through the nervous system to every cell, tissue, and organ in the body to allow the body to be restorative, to allow cells to replicate with healthy cells, to allow life to flow and our body to heal and function at a greater level. So we can be connected, we can be clear of interference. So when you think about it that way, that's getting pretty deep. But do your patients have some understanding of that? Because if everybody understood that, they would want chiropractic care for the rest of their life. Like whether they have symptoms or not. I want to be connected. I want to be clear. I want God's power to flow through me from above down, inside out. I want no interference. I want that sunbeam to be shining brightly within me. And so if I have subluxation, that can't happen. So do you guys, and first of all, I'm going to ask you for comments or thoughts on that. Does that make sense? Does that sound weird? Or is that something that you completely own and are able to communicate with your patients?
My thought is there's no way we're doing a good job at that, because otherwise we'd all be seeing like 5,000 a week. So there's no way I'm doing a good job at that. Like, I would say that I have lots of improvement. And even if I tell people, does it really sink in and stay with them? Sure. The ones that I just had a wonderful week where several of my patients hit 1,000 visits, and I was celebrating that they'd had 1,000 adjustments. But has every patient had 1,000 adjustments? No. So otherwise I wouldn't be celebrating in that, right? Like that wouldn't be the whole thing. So I just say that I'm trying, but man, it's a hard process to do.
So, and absolutely it is. But, and then I would say is that in your process of communication, so day 1, day 2, day 3, is there an opportunity to weave that thinking in there? So when you stand up and start, in your doctor's report or whoever you do your report of findings, if you stand up and talk about where does health come from, is that what flows out? Or is it something different? So I want to give you a different perspective on that, since everybody's so speechless today. Okay. Do you know that the principle that we just talked about, the fact that there's universal intelligence that exists in all matter, continually giving into it its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence, and the personification of that universal intelligence exists within every living single person, and any type of removal of that interference is what we do as chiropractors that allows the body to adapt at a higher level. So do you know that every single healthcare profession, medical doctors, therapists, whatever they do, understand that on some level? So think about this. So what we're talking about is not just a chiropractic philosophy. We articulate it well, but every single healthcare profession thinks that way. Because, so here's an example. Let's say you're going to a surgeon, and the surgeon does some sort of a surgery where they remove an organ from your body, right? you get to a point of a medical emergency and the body is not functioning well because of the interference that's built up and the body's inability to adapt to whatever lifestyle you've had. And thus the body starts breaking down and it becomes a crisis point. So you go to the medical doctor, the surgeon does a surgery, removes your appendix, for example. That surgeon knows by removing that appendix and stitching you up that now there has to be a time of adaptation where the body needs to heal, right? Every time a surgeon does a surgery, that surgeon understands that you're not done. Now there has to be a period of healing. So the surgeon makes an intervention to the body surgically, putting something in, taking something out of the body, whatever it may be. But they all understand that there is a principle of healing that that body needs time to replace itself, to adapt, to be conditioned to the new circumstance. Right? Do you get that? Physiotherapist, same thing. You go to a physiotherapist and let's say they put shockwave or they put ultrasound or laser on some sort of an injury, which creates a reaction. It's not the application of that modality that allows you to heal. It's the application of that modality that elicits a change. Therefore, you go home and then the body has time to start healing. And maybe you have to go back a few times so they elicit more change and more change and more change. But every time that therapist knows that your body needs to adapt. So if you guys can understand the fact that every healthcare profession understands this principle, but here's the difference. Chiropractors are the only ones that focus on removing the interference. So we're not putting anything into the body or taking something out of the body. All we're doing is specifically removing the interference for the body's adaptability and healing to happen at a higher level. We're the only profession that does that. And so if you can really own what you do in that respect, that's where you have a uniqueness in this healthcare world, the delivery of healthcare. You can provide something to that patient that nobody else can provide. You specifically locate the interference in the nervous system, remove that interference to allow that healing that's already in there, the personification of God, the innate intelligence, to flow at a higher level so that body can heal. That's what we do. And that's what's so beautiful. So we're not treating any type of symptom. All we're doing is getting the interference removed so that the healing, the connection can get to a higher level. Any thoughts on that? Is this a total mind bender today for you guys?
Lots to think about.
Okay, so here's another thing I want to throw at you then. Okay, since we're having some great discussion. Okay, so what is cancer? What is a disease? Like, so let's just say hypothetically, let's start with by saying a bacterial infection like pneumonia, or let's say a viral infection like the flu. Is that the cause of your disease? So my answer to that is no, it's not. That's a trigger. And if your body is not equipped enough to adapt, and I shouldn't use the word equipped, if your body is not adaptable enough to overcome that virus or that bacterial infection, what happens? You get sick. So a body that's in a good state of healing comes in contact with a virus or bacteria and has the ability to adapt to that environment, thus doesn't express symptoms, doesn't get sick. Okay, so it's not the virus or the bacteria that gets somebody sick. The virus or bacteria is a trigger. What gets somebody sick is the lack of ability to adapt, the state of disharmony or the state of dis-ease. So when you're in a state of unadaptability, what happens is you can't adapt to your environment. Okay, so let's take it a step further and say, okay, now let's talk about cancer. What is cancer? Is cancer a disease you get? Like, do you catch cancer from somebody? The thing is, no, you don't. Cancer is built up in the body. It's the body's ability or inability to adapt to a toxic environment. So you take an environment that's low in oxygen, or you take an environment that's high in sugar, or you take an environment that's high in toxins. What does that do? It triggers the body to react. It triggers cells to mutate, And if the body as a whole is in a state of dis-ease or disharmony, or has an inability to heal and adapt to that toxic environment, what happens is cancer cells proliferate. They start to divide, they start to grow, they form a tumor, and then they take over the host. So, as chiropractors, we don't have a cure for cancer. However, if we can keep the body functioning as well and as optimally as possible, if we can remove the interference, if we can correct the subluxation and allow that body its 100% ability to adapt to any environment, we give that body an opportunity to completely beat cancer. Or if the body is already overcome with cancer, we may give it the opportunity to start to take over those cancer cells with healthy cells. We allow those cells to replicate healthy as opposed to mutated, as opposed to unhealthy cells. Cancer is very simply a replication of unhealthy cells within the body because the body can't comprehend and can't control the growth of those unhealthy cells. That's all it is. It's an adaptation, a maladaptation to a bad environment that the body has no other chance to do because it can't overtake those cancer cells. So thoughts on that?
Most people are thinking, just again, this goes right back to the green books and why you need to have your head in that if you're going to deliver what I think we're all in agreement on this line we want to deliver. Like BJ very clearly stated that vertebral subluxation is the cause of all disease because the nervous system is everything. It is what allows your body to adapt to the environment in which the body finds itself in, right? And he also said that chiropractic always works. If it isn't seeming to work, you need to examine your application. It's the principle is always right. It's a principle, but is your application of the principle right?
So when you think about that, so when we used to have our dinners, and that was the major driving force of our office for retention and for new patients. We would do them at least every 6 to 8 weeks, and they were always very, very big. And one of the regular talks we had, probably every third dinner, was a cancer talk, and that was the basis of our cancer talk. Is we would talk about principle. We would talk about the body's ability to adapt, removing interference from the nervous system so the body could adapt. And if the body can adapt, the chances of cancer cells growing were minimal. So when we say, what's the difference between subluxation and cancer? And the answer to that is what? What's the difference between subluxation and cancer?
Time.
Time. That's it. Time. So if you're subluxated, think about this. If you're subluxated, your body can't adapt. You're in a constant state of disharmony. You're in a constant state of dysautonomia, where your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems are way out of balance. You're in a constant state of maladaptation to healing. What happens is cancer cells are growing and they're going to proliferate. So if you're subluxated, it might not be now, you might not be symptomatic, it might not be detectable, but it's just a matter of time. So why do we want to keep people coming in to have their spine checked for subluxation for the rest of their life? So that they can adapt, so they can reach the state of harmony, so they can reach the state of autonomic balance, where their sympathetic and parasympathetic are working in harmony with each other, where they're in homeostasis, and they can adapt, and their body can overcome those mutated cancer cells. That's what we want. That's what I want my people to understand. That's what I want my community to understand. And if people call me a quack for that, I don't care, because that's the truth. I mean, what are they doing in this case? They're living a life of toxicity. They're living a life out of balance with stress, thoughts, traumas, toxins constantly in their life. So their body's in a constant state of dis-ease, imbalance. Well, guess what? They get cancer, they go to the oncologist, and they're in for chemo, radiation, and therapy. And they think that's the answer for their cancer. We all know it's not. You can't treat cancer from the back end. You can't do it. So cancer has to be something that we say that is just a maladaptation to a body that is subluxated, a body that is out of balance, that is not able to adapt. And so I'm saying this thing, I'm saying these things for you guys because it's really important for you to get this and understand this, because the more that you get it, the more your team will get it, the more that your patients will get it, and the higher level of understanding that they'll have of what you do being completely different than anybody else. Different from the chiropractors down the street, different from the therapist that they went to, different from the massage therapy, different from the medical doctors. You're different. You don't treat anything. You remove the interference for the body to flourish, to express full life expression. Any other thoughts on that?
I was gonna say, as you like, this is why it's so important you dig into this. And if you're not reading green books, if not every day, almost every day, like these are the pieces where, as you get more grounded in our founding principles, the philosophy of what it is that you're delivering, this is where this starts to come out and everything. And you're also like, you don't flinch as much either. Like, you don't flinch if a patient pushes back on a care plan. You don't shorten recommendations because you think they're going to be afraid of the price point, or adjust your language based on how you think the person's going to respond. You're anchored to truth. So then everything starts coming out that way. You'll notice as you're anchored to that, that results get better. Just the normal people you adjust get better results. You're more anchored, more people come on to care, more people refer, because you are congruent. There's a huge piece to that, and it's in so many things. Like, even if we're talking about this, like like if you're trying to get people to sign on to care plans, like, have you paid for something for yourself at that level or higher to allow yourself to get better? If you're trying to get people to come to their adjustments and they're busy or come to your workshops, like, do you make time to get to like a seminar, right? Do you make time to make these things happen, or are you also too busy? Right? It's all over the place where this congruency piece falls in, but it's where you grounded. It allows you to then make priorities, make decisions based on that higher priority.
So let's just kind of summarize this now, and I just want to kind of finalize with these thoughts here. Is let's tie this all together to create congruency. So philosophically, if we can understand that, like, because I get into some deep philosophy there, when you can really truly own the fact that you are a chiropractor, and the most important thing for you to do is locate and correct subluxation, which is the main cause of interference in the nervous system, that and that interference creates the body's inability to adapt to its environment. So all life expression, health and healing is completely proportional to the body's ability to express life, above, down, inside out, through the nervous system. Okay. What else causes that type of interference? Medication. Subluxation stops the body's ability to adapt. Medication alters the body's ability to adapt. Okay, so they're the two things. And that's why I say those two things are the biggest killers on the face of the earth, because they stop the body's ability to adapt to its environment. They disconnect the intelligence in the body from the physical body itself. So, knowing that, I'm going to say now, if you can really own that everything that you do now, when you're talking to patients about their symptoms or why they came in, and if you can understand that all that is, and it's okay to talk about symptoms as long as you know and you can communicate that the symptom is a signal. It's not the problem, it's a signal of the body's inability to adapt. So, what you're going to do is locate the interference, the cause of that interference that is stopping them from adapting. Very simple. But if you can articulate that through your day 1, day 2, day 3, so that they can get that, even though they came in with migraines or back pain or sciatica or whatever they came in with, you're getting to the root cause of that body's ability to adapt. And you communicate that through the course of your day 1, day 2, day 3. So they get that. And that is the most important thing that you can do. That is the number one thing. And I always say, and doctor, one of the new docs in our group is not on the line here, but we had a conversation the other day, and she said, I just want to help people. And that's why I want to treat them. And she intentionally used that word, treat them, on day 1. And I said, well, you treating them on day 1 is you're wanting to help them get out of pain. But here's the question, and I go back to this quote, is that if you want to feed somebody, you can give a man a fish and feed him for a day, or you can teach him how to fish and feed him for a lifetime, right? So that being said, what I'm going to say to you is it's much more important for you to get good at communicating the principle to people, because if they get it, if you can change their mind, you'll change their spine for a lifetime. And until you get good at changing their mind, you'll be able to change their spine once, twice, a few times before they leave or before they quit. But if you want to see them for a lifetime, change their mind first. That's the most important thing.